Nurse Emily Carter moved with a quiet efficiency that was the hallmark of her profession. The late shift at the Veterans Affairs Hospital was a world of hushed corridors, the soft beeping of machines, and the low murmurs of troubled sleep. Her work was a daily act of service, a blend of clinical expertise and profound human empathy. She was not a hero. She was a caregiver, one among thousands who dedicated their lives to mending the bodies and souls of those who had served. Her new patient was an enigma. Mr. Miller, a man in his late 60s, was admitted with what the chart described as general fatigue and a persistent cough. He was quiet, his eyes holding a depth of experience that Emily had seen in many veterans. He was respectful but distant, answering questions with a precise brevity that left no room for further inquiry. Emily made a mental note of his demeanor, a quiet man with 1,000 stories locked behind his gaze. One of the first things she noticed was his medication regimen. It was not a simple pill at breakfast and dinner routine. His pills were a complex cocktail of different shapes and colors, each with a specific time and dosage. He was meticulous about it, a habit Emily had also observed in other patients. Many veterans found comfort in routine, a holdover from a life where every action was a matter of life and death. Mr. Miller's was particularly complex, a schedule that required the administration of 3 different pills at 3 different times, with a specific interval between each one, insisted on taking them himself, a small act of control in a world where he had very little. Emily, ever diligent, took the time to double-check his chart and the medication orders. Everything was in order, but the complexity of the regimen struck her as unusual. She asked the charge nurse about it and was met with a shrug. "Some of these guys have specialized needs. Do not worry about it. Just make sure he gets what he is supposed to get," she said with a sigh. Emily did not let it go. She decided she would pay extra attention to Mr. Miller's case. The next night, Emily was on her rounds, checking on her patients. She found Mr. Miller awake, sitting in his bed, staring out the window at the city lights. He seemed different tonight, a subtle unease emanating from him. "Something is bothering you, Mr. Miller?" she asked softly. He turned to look at her, his eyes piercing through the dim light. "Just thinking, nurse, about things long past." Emily stayed with him for a while, a silent presence in the room. She was not trained to handle a man's memories, but she was trained to be a comforting presence. She saw a moment of vulnerability in his eyes, a brief flicker of a man haunted by a history she could not begin to comprehend. Before she left, he spoke again. "The schedule is very important. The timing, the interval, it all matters." He then gestured to the glass of water and the small tray of pills on his bedside table. He was about to take his last dose of the night. "I know, Mr. Miller. I have been paying attention," she said with a reassuring smile. He gave a slight nod, a small gesture of trust that meant the world to her. The next day, Emily was at the medication cart, preparing the morning doses for her patients. She pulled Mr. Miller's pills and placed them on a small tray, a routine she had done 1,000 times. She was about to head to his room when she glanced down at the pills, a small flicker of doubt entering her mind. Something was wrong. The pill for the 9 o'clock dose was a different color, a subtle difference, but one she would not forget. She remembered the chart, the color, and the shape of each one. She saw the pill that was supposed to be given at 9 o'clock, and it was not the one on the tray. It was the pill for the 3 o'clock dose, a different color and shape. Emily froze. This was not a simple mix-up. This was a critical medication error. She quickly checked the medication sheet, her heart pounding a furious rhythm in her chest. The sheet was marked correctly. The 9 o'clock pill was a different color from the one on the tray. Someone had deliberately made a mistake. She rushed to the nurse's station, her mind racing. "There is a mistake with Mr. Miller's medication," she said to the charge nurse, her voice urgent. The charge nurse, a woman with a no-nonsense attitude, gave her a dismissive look. "What are you talking about, Emily? It is a new brand of medication. The color is different, but the chemical composition is the same. Do not make a mountain out of a molehill." "No," Emily insisted. "I checked the chart. The pill for this time is a different color and shape. It is a completely different medication. It is a critical error." The charge nurse sighed, annoyed. "Just give him the pill, Emily. It is fine. You are overreacting." But Emily did not listen. She trusted her instinct, a gut feeling that told her something was deeply wrong. She grabbed her own phone and took a photo of the medication bottle, the new pill, and the chart. Then she went to the hospital pharmacy, a small department on the ground floor. She showed the pharmacist the picture, and he immediately confirmed her suspicions. "That is not the correct medication, nurse. That is an antihistamine. It is a different drug entirely." Cold fear gripped Emily. Antihistamines were not dangerous in themselves, but they were not the medication Mr. Miller needed. In fact, if taken in place of his scheduled medication, they could have a catastrophic effect. She did not know what Mr. Miller's medication was for, but she knew that a substitution like this was a grave threat to his health. She ran back to the nurse's station, her heart pounding. "It is a mistake," she said, her voice shaking. "I just spoke with the pharmacist. The pill is an antihistamine." The charge nurse's face went pale. She looked at the tray, then at the medication sheet, her hands trembling. A few minutes later, the hospital alarm blared, a piercing, insistent sound that sent a jolt of terror through everyone on the floor. Within seconds, a team of men in tactical gear, their faces grim and determined, burst through the doors. They were a vision of controlled chaos, their movements precise and their weapons at the ready. They were not police. There was something else, something far more sinister and dangerous. They were Delta Force, the most elite special operations unit in the world. They secured the floor, their presence a palpable force of authority and power. The patients and staff were told to stay in their rooms, and the doors were locked from the outside. The charge nurse was taken away, her face a mask of fear. Emily stood frozen in the middle of the corridor, her heart pounding, her mind reeling from the impossible scene. A man, older than the others, but with the same intense gaze, approached her. His face was a roadmap of experience, his eyes a cold, hard blue. "Nurse Carter," he asked, his voice a low growl. "I understand you were the one who found the medication error." Emily could only nod, her voice a knot in her throat. "Now, you saved his life," the man said simply. "That was not a medication error. That was a hit, a very professional, very sophisticated assassination attempt. The antihistamine would have caused a sedative effect, and the next dose, the lethal one, would have been administered without anyone noticing. It would have appeared as if he had a heart attack in his sleep." Emily's mind reeled. She was not a part of this world. She was a nurse. She did not deal with assassinations and covert operations. She dealt with bedpans and blood pressure. "Who is he?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Mr. Miller? Who is he?" "His name is John Miller, and he is not a patient. He is a retired operative. The medication you saw, the complex regimen, was not for an illness. It was a cocktail designed to combat a rare slow-acting poison he was exposed to on his last mission. It needed to be administered with precise timing to keep him alive. The antihistamine would have interfered with the cocktail, making him vulnerable to the poison. They were trying to finish the job," the man said. Emily felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She had been so close to a world she did not know existed, a world of shadows and secrets. She had been a part of it without even knowing. She had saved a man's life, not by luck, but by her own meticulous attention to detail. The man who introduced himself as Commander Thorne led her to a private room. "We need you to tell us everything you know," he said. "Every detail. Every person who handled the medication. Every nurse, every staff member. We need to know everything." Emily, her mind now a cold clinical machine, told him everything. She described the new pill, the charge nurse's reaction, the feeling of unease she had. She was a professional, and she was now using her skills in a way she never would have imagined. She was a witness, a key player in a world she did not understand. When she finished, Commander Thorne nodded, a look of respect in his eyes. "You did well, nurse. Very well. You are a true professional." He then told her that the charge nurse had been apprehended. She was not a part of the conspiracy, but she had been coerced into administering the wrong medication by a man she knew. She was under duress, a pawn in a larger game. Emily was given a new patient, a man with a broken leg. She was back in her world, but she was changed. She saw the world with new eyes, a world where every action had a consequence, a world where even the most mundane of tasks, like giving a patient his medication, could be a matter of life and death. The next night, she went to check on Mr. Miller, now under the watchful eye of a Delta Force operator who stood guard outside his door. He was a different man, his eyes clear and sharp, his mind fully present. "You saved me, nurse," he said, his voice a low, resonant baritone. "I do not know how to thank you." "You do not have to," she said, her voice soft. "It is my job. I am a nurse." He smiled, a genuine warm smile that lit up his face. "You are more than that, Emily. You are a professional. Hero. You did not even know what you were doing, but you did the right thing. That is what a real hero is. A person who does the right thing, even when they do not know what the consequences are." Emily left his room, a new sense of purpose in her heart. She was a nurse, a caregiver, a protector. She was a part of a world she had never known existed, but she was a part of it all the same. She had saved a life, not with a scalpel or a syringe, but with a simple act of attention to detail and a profound dedication to her job. She was not a soldier, but she was a warrior in her own way, and she had just won a battle. She was a nurse, and she was ready for whatever came next. She knew she could not go back to her old life, a life where she did not see the hidden depths of the world, a life where she did not see the quiet heroism that existed in the most mundane of places. She walked down the corridor, her steps light, her head held high. She was a nurse, a quiet, professional, dedicated nurse. But she was more than that. She was a soldier. She was a protector. She was a hero. And she was ready for whatever came next. She knew she was in a world of shadows, a world of secrets, but she was not afraid. She was a part of it all the same, and she was doing her job, a job that was more important than she had ever imagined.